All right, I think everybody who was signed up is on, so we'll get started. This is Michael at Michigan Developmental Disabilities Institute, Wayne State. If we want to just go around and have everybody chime in. So, Sharon, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, hi, this is Sharon Milberger from MyDDI, MyLent.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
I guess I can go next. This is Sarah Douglas. I'm at Michigan State University.
Hi, Sarah.
And I'll go next. This is Jen Larson. Sorry, I don't have my camera up, but I'm from University of Michigan, Ann Arbor.
Hi, Jen.
Hey there.
This is Deborah Lindstrom from Western Michigan University.
Hi, Deborah.
Hello.
Hi, it's Jane Turner from Michigan State.
Hello again, Jane.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. This is Candy Bush with the Family Center.
Hey, Candy.
Hi. And Lisa Huckleberry with the Family Center.
All right. I think that's everyone. Okay. I'm going to share the agenda one more time here. I sent it out with the reminder yesterday. Sorry if it came a little late. Just not much different from our last few. Just, for anyone who hasn't been on the mentor Zoom session in the past, this is just a chance for all of you who are mentoring long-term trainees during the current cohort to chime in, to share your experiences, ask questions, to discuss any things that have been going well, maybe some obstacles, and just to kind of get a chance to chat before the face-to-face, which is next Friday, March 2nd. So I guess as always, I'll kick it off since I am a mentor as well with Emily here at MyDDI. Let's see. I think things have been going actually very well with her. Let me stop the share here so I can see the screen. Okay. She just recently did a observation at the audiology clinic at U of M. She said it was a fantastic experience. And she's currently trying to schedule time to go to the dental clinic as well. And so far so good. Her hours are they're up there, so she's on pace to be done. And we've been discussing more the life project that she's working on, and just talking about the presentation that she's going to put together on that. Other than that, we haven't had a chance to debrief she just had her family visit. Her and Christine Klinger, our other trainee from here at Wayne State, had a visit with a family last week. So we're going to discuss that sometime this week. But she said it went well. So thank you, Lisa and Candy, for hooking them up with that, because I know they had an issue with their initial family that kind of fell out of contact. From all accounts, this visit that they had with this new family went really well. So I guess those are my
Good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, she said that, just in passing, they had a really positive experience with the family. So,
Okay.
yeah. So those are my updates. Someone want to volunteer to share?
Yeah, I was going to say I can go if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, this is so Jen. I'm at the University of Michigan. So I am providing mentorship for Peggy Ursui, and I think it has been she's done a really good job with trying to fit everything, and I know that this has been a little bit of a challenge to keep up with everything given her other obligations. She's working full-time here at the university, as well as participating in another fellowship looking at I think it's a multidisciplinary kind of fellowship where it's I think like 9 months or a year, and it culminates in a project as well. I know that she's been very spread pretty thin across all of these different obligations, and yet working hard to get everything done. I was a little, we had a little bit of concern about looking at all the clinical activities that need to happen, and she's done a great job of reaching out. She's seen my clinic, spent a full day with me. She's worked with Dr. Hurwitz. She's gone to the University Autism Center, Peds Dental Clinic. She's looking into scheduling for audiology coming up pretty soon. And so she's, I think really working towards acquiring all of those clinical hours. And she's finding them very, very, very interesting, which is great.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and I know that she and Jay have met with her family. I know that they met one time with the family, but then it's been a little bit more difficult. As of last week, I heard that it was a little bit harder for them to get a hold of the family. And I know that it was a really lovely experience. However, they also felt like it was a little bit of a burden being in the home, just given the home situation and just the amount of stress that it seemed to kind of cause on the family and on the child that they were working with, where in the context of having a lot of stress, he tends to have, he has Dravet syndrome, and he actually had a seizure in the context of them being there.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and so I think that was pretty intense, but she's a nurse, so she's able to, I think she can manage all of that stuff. I know that was a new experience for Jay. And so I think that situation has been very enlightening for them and very helpful. But also I know that there was a little bit of feeling a little, like it's a little bit of a burden and a little uncomfortable at times, particularly asking some of the questions about the financial burden. That component of the interview. So I know that was something that was a little bit challenging. But I don't think they've had a follow-up visit yet.
Okay.
And then the other part is that she is currently working on her life project, and it's kind of a project that she's also doing with the other fellowship. It's kind of in conjunction with the other fellowship, but it's very appropriate for this project. And so she's doing a day in the life of it's kind of a simulation project where there's students or trainees that will be kind of rotating through different groups, learning about what it's like to have a child with autism, in regard to going to the doctors, going to school, having an early clinic appointment when it's hard to get out the door, those kinds of things. And so they're kind of simulating this and have been, she's been working with her team with that. She's been taking the lead on that. And I know that she's talked to both Sharon and to Jane to use this project as well as with myself. So that's I think happening on March 6th, the simulation.
Oh, okay.
So, I think lots of things are going. I do know that again, things are a little bit hard to balance. So any feedback that you guys have for helping me as a mentor to help her work through some of these things would be really helpful.
Jen, this is Sharon. Thanks for that update. One thought I had just in general about any of our trainees is that they don't have to do their hours in any particular order. So if there's a point in her schedule where it's going to be lightning in some way, then maybe she could do more of her clinical hours then, or more of her community hours then. The didactics, that's based on when the modules are, so that's not as flexible. But if there is some flexibility, especially towards the end of the program where we don't have any more didactic sessions, they end in April, our face-to-face sessions end in April. So there's really May, and it can go into June if need be for her, if for any of the trainees, if they need that time, if that's helpful.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. So pretty much does all of the clinical activities, so by the end of June is when we really want to aim to have that completed? Yeah,
I would say so if possible. I mean, it could go into the next year, but it's easier for us. I mean, part of us,
but ideally,
fiscal year is July 1 through June 30th. So in order for any of our trainees to get that final payment, it has to be after they've completed all their hours, their life project, everything's done. All the check marks are checked. All the boxes are checked. So it's just easier for us if we can keep it in the same fiscal year. So that's kind of in my own mind. But
Okay.
Jane, I don't know if you feel differently.
No, I think, and I was going to jump in and talk about my experience mentoring, being the mentor to Brittany at this point too. No, I think there is flexibility, but ideally by the end of June, it'd be very complicated to try to carry forward the money to give them a stipend later. And yet we don't want to be handing out that final stipend, that final check until things are done. And I think I think it's helpful for the trainees sometimes to have a hard deadline too, because otherwise it just
I agree with that.
bleeds on. And Jen, I have a similar challenge, or it's not my challenge. My trainee has similar challenges. Brittany, who is the registered dietitian, and after she applied for and was accepted into the MyLend program, she got a full-time job to run the food service program at the Michigan School for the Deaf. And part of what she needed to do for that job was to learn sign, because most of her staff members are deaf and sign. Not that she couldn't communicate with them in other ways, but it was just she suddenly was overwhelmed. And prior to knowing she was doing Lend, she signed up for a master's degree program, so she was taking master's classes also. Somewhere in late November, I was really worried because she was so far behind, even on the didactics. I mean, just on getting assignments done. And I knew she was behind, not just because I'm her mentor, but the module 1, a lot of them are assignments that I read, and she just was really behind. She's catching up now. We did, because of her school schedule, the plan is that she will pick up most of her clinical hours when school ends. So she'll really be doing a lot of her clinical work in June, but we're trying to plan that out ahead of time. And then, like you, I'm working with her on choosing what projects and trying to make it so whatever project she does, as much as possible, lines up with what she's doing in her day job, and isn't a duplication. So, and a lot of what I've done as mentor is to sit down. She lives about an hour and a half from here. She was in East Lansing when she applied, but she now lives somewhere in the Detroit area.
Oh, wow.
So we have phone conferences usually at 11 on Sunday, every other Sunday. But a lot of my job has been to prioritize. I mean, at some point I said, look, those assignments that were due a month ago, just leave them. Do what's due for the next Zoom session so that you can make the most out of the Zoom session, and try to catch up on those when life slows down a little bit. So she did that, and then she caught up on, not quite on everything, but almost everything over the Christmas break. And also assignments kind of lightened up a little bit. Understandably, I mean, that's part of the design of this, is that early on, before they're very involved in clinical things, they'll spend more time doing the didactics, getting the fund of knowledge. But again, a lot of what we've done is, or what I've tried to offer her, is to help set priorities and plan her time, and then give her soft deadlines with me, because I've tried to be, recognizing self-care. And in the middle of all of this, she and her boyfriend bought a house, and they got a dog, and they moved, and they're fixing a house. I mean, it's just, all these things that happen, good things, but just so much going on. And then for the Life Project, she really hadn't had a chance to reflect on that. So I kind of gave her an idea. I said, well, how about with your job? If you were to walk away from that job and somebody else had to come in and do the food service for the School for the Deaf, which many of the students there have other neurodevelopmental disabilities besides deafness. Most of them, I would say. Could you write a user's guide or a manual about your job? What are the things you need to do, things you need to consider? What are some of the conditions you're running into? Who are the resources and what to do? And I thought that would be a life project that would be useful, productive, and not a duplication of our effort, but really tying in. So again, that's where we are. I'm still, getting all those clinical hours is going to be going to be tough. She's been able to do some. She went to the audiology clinic last week because the school was closed on Friday. It was this President's Day weekend. She thought it was fantastic. Are there any audiology faculty on? No, I guess not. She thought she really appreciated that. And she also appreciated going after hearing the first webinar, because if she hadn't had the webinar about audiology, she thinks she would have been kind of lost when she was there in clinic. So that's something we should keep in mind. We encourage them to do the audiology, but the timing to do it after they've had an introduction by the webinar is important. So anyway, that's what we are, where we are with Brittany. I'm not as worried now. There was at one point I was, and the other thing she did is she was so worried that I was going to be disappointed that she decided not to take any classes towards her master's program this semester. And I'm like, yes, good. But she was so, I just hope you don't, I hope you don't mind. I hope you're not disappointed in me. And but she just was spread. She was just doing so much, I think she's going to make it through the year. And then the other thing is she signed up to do one of these talks for the Developmental Disabilities Conference, which is, a wonderful opportunity, a great thing for her to do, but another task. So hopefully that kind of will work in with our life project also.
Great.
Jane, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that with the audiology module, in light of that comment that you made, should be earlier in the program, or you think we should just encourage the clinical experiences later in the program?
Well, logistically, I don't think it matters so much where it is in the program, except to encourage the audiology experience after they go there.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know how hard it is for 18 trainees to get into that program after February. So I think that would be a good question for the audiology faculty.
Okay.
We could certainly switch it up. I mean, there are some other things that could be anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the family experience, Candy, the family experience has been fantastic, according to Brittany.
Great.
That's always great to hear.
Thank you, Jane.
Mm-hmm.
Candy and Lisa, did you two want to go next?
Sure, I just tapped in our little office and said, let's try who wants to talk, so that way we wouldn't try and talk over each other. So, but Lisa's going to start.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So everything seems to be going really, really well with Sandy. I think maybe she was kind of feeling a little frantic in the beginning, or at some way midpoint in the fall, early winter last year. But we just had another call with her. I believe it was last week, right, Candy? It was like crazy because we were at AmChip, and you know what it's like when you're out of town for a few days. Just like, what day is it and where are we at? But and I was just looking over her assignments and on her tracking, her training activity tracking sheet, and looks like she's doing, and Candy can chime in after I'm done here, I think she's doing really well. I know her and Madison did have their first family visit, and like I've heard from many other mentors and other people that, yes, it's a family situation with a very chaotic house. They have two boys who are autistic, and I believe one has ADHD, and it's a son and grandson. And she definitely needs a lot more resources, but they had some excellent ideas for her, trying to work on getting some more resources, and they plan on going back on the second visit back to the home instead of a phone call, which I don't know how many people were. I believe all the mentors were on the email I sent back out to them, that if the family, if it works better for the family to meet in home again, that's absolutely fine. We really want the trainees to, do what works for them, but also what works best for the family, utilizing that family-centered approach. So that's what they're going to be doing, and she's looking forward to the March 2nd face-to-face, and I believe she's coming to Lansing. She'll be coming to Lansing with myself, and Ayanna Eggleston will be joining me since Candy will be out of town that day. And let's see. It looks like, I don't know that I have her most recent updated assignment sheet that I'll probably have to go back and look at. But I believe as far as everything I can see, she is pretty much
Yep.
up to date.
Yeah, and she's really good at checking in with us, just keeping us looped in. If she has any difficulties in terms of, what's next or how should I approach this. I love that she just, jumps right on the email or is not afraid to call one of us. I know she's looking forward to some of the clinical hours, the additional hours that she's getting in. She has things scheduled and planned. She's really good at mapping things out because she also works. She's really been diligent about scheduling things well in advance, so that way she has days dedicated just to the LEND project and the different activities that she needs done. And so that's been really helpful for her because her schedule is consistent, so she can then schedule any clinical hours or those family visits on those days. And so again, we have monthly check-ins. We do a conference call. I feel like she's making this pretty easy for us because, especially when she was talking about the family visit and how chaotic the household was and things that were going on, she's like, Candy, things were just, going through my mind like crazy, like all the resources and the different, services that she might find beneficial to help with some of the areas that she was struggling in. So, she was really looking forward to, seeing this again, just well beyond just the family visit, getting information from them, and but then again having this be like a reciprocal relationship to really where she could be impactful for them.
Great, thank you.
I'm happy to go next. This is Sarah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
So I'm working with Michelle, and she's been doing awesome. I think, having a child with special needs has given her a unique perspective within this, but also coming from an early childhood background has given her like a professional perspective as well. So it's been really fun to work with her. I would say the main thing that's probably been challenging within the program, and I think this is just how it worked out, is trying to get in with a family. They are on their third family. But I think this one will work out because I actually know her personally. So when they sent it out, I was like, well, at least I know this person will actually get back with them. And I think it's a good match as well because it's a child that's quite different. Like the challenges that the parents face are similar in nature to what Michelle is doing, but also very different in nature. And so I think it will provide some diversity of perspectives. I think the moms, Michelle and this mom have some similarities, but also a lot of differences in maybe how they approach things. And I think it will be a really good fit. So she's excited for that. I know that Michelle had been the one trying to reach out to the families previously, the first two that they were assigned to, and didn't get in contact with either of them. And Ricky is the one that's supposed to be contacting now. So I emailed her today just to kind of see if they've been able to get in contact, just to make sure that they're touching base. But I think they just got this name like last week.
Okay.
Can I just chime in real quick? It's Lisa
Sure.
from the Family Center. Yes, they did. I believe I sent it on Wednesday or Thursday when I got back from AmChip. But this mom is she was like so excited when she heard who I was calling. And I really hope that it sounds like she was just in need of somebody coming in right now. So
right, I think she could use a listening ear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
I think it's going to be good for everyone involved. Like you said, with some of the other families, sometimes it might be a burden. I think for this particular family, they need that special needs community right now. So I think it will actually be productive for everyone.
Yeah, that's what I totally got from the mom when I spoke with her. So it was like, yes, thank you. This is, what I've been looking for right now. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, this is great. So the only other thing that I wanted to mention is, I think Michelle and I have kind of a unique relationship, and probably the most support that I'm providing her with is just how to navigate the system for her own daughter. And so I think a lot of the benefits she's getting out of this program is kind of like, okay, this is the other challenge I'm having. And I kind of give her a bunch of resources, and often that's how she's getting her hours, because she's going and pursuing different things that she knows would be beneficial to a lot of kids, but especially might be pertinent for her daughter. So I think that that's been a really good way to go about it. And I know that we have different needs within the program, but I think especially when we have families, that we should kind of try to gear it towards what works for them. And I think I hear that theme kind of going regardless if it's a professional or an individual. So a lot of good things going on. She's a great match for me. So I think, nothing else really to report.
Great, and thank you for that. And I'm wondering if Sharon and Jane may want to chime, because as we're recruiting and getting the applications out for our next cohort, a lot of things we've talked about involve family members and self-advocates applying, and that's really good insight. I think working in the field, I kind of take that for granted, where I was like, oh yeah, of course, but emphasizing to a family member is like, hey, you're not just you're doing this to learn, obviously, and to get experience, but this is something you can apply immediately, probably to your own life, to your family. So
I think we had some discussions early on when she felt like some of the content wasn't necessarily as useful for her. And I said, well, but in your goals in the future, you want to be able to help other families. This information might be useful for them. So take it, put it in your back pocket. And then the things that you spend the most amount of time on might be the things that are really pertinent to you right now. And I think she's really taken that to heart, and that's been a very useful way. And I think that could be true for the professionals in the program as well, that there might be some things that they're like, this isn't really, I don't think this is applicable to me. Don't discard it, but don't spend as much time and effort on that. Spend the time and effort on the things that you really feel like are going to get you where you want to go in your.
Right.
And just to piggyback on that, thank you, Sarah, for sharing that. I'd say the one thing to keep in mind, whether it's a family member, a self-advocate, or professional, that the L in LEND is for leadership. So that while you wear your own hat and you have your own personal experience, this isn't about your personal experience. Of course, you always bring your personal experience to whatever you do. But this is really, how are you going to grow as a leader and impact outside of yourself? Of course, if you get benefit from it, that's no problem with that. But it has to be what's your impact on others, and what you're wearing the leadership hat. So I'd always, in your conversations with Michelle, I'd always bring it back. What does this mean to you as a leader? How are you going to use this information, your own personal experience, to be a leader on behalf?
Well, that's a good point. I think just to clarify, some of her goals are to kind of be a self-advocate and to work as an inclusion specialist in the future. And so I think one of the things we've had a lot of discussions about is, okay, so maybe this doesn't feel like it's that important right now, but it is going to be important. So we do kind of come back to that leadership piece. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have a little kid in the background in case you didn't notice that.
No, it's okay.
And I just want to jump in. I'm really sorry. I actually have to go. I've got a patient.
Okay.
But I will definitely reach back out and watch the rest of this, because it's been helpful. So thank you.
Great. Thanks for being on, Jen.
Yep. Take care.
I also have to scat to another meeting. So
okay.
Thank you so much. And I won't be at the in-person one because I'm at a conference again. I feel like that just is how things worked out this time. But I will make sure to touch base with Michelle and find out anything else I need to know.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks again for being able to be on. Okay. Deborah, you want to go ahead with your updates?
Sure. I am working with Katie Gala, and we had been keeping closer contact before she broke her arm in a snowboarding accident.
Oh no!
And so she had to miss her mentor meeting with me because she was in the ER. She's up north, and I mean she's back in class, but I think it's she's not functioning with 2 full arms yet. So.
Oh no!
So we haven't met that often. I have to say the last comment was very helpful for me to really frame things as, what does this mean to you as a leader? Because we haven't really been going in that direction at this point. And one of her goals was to work on critical thinking. And so I've been trying to push her, not just telling me what the content was of the webinars that the Zoom meeting she was at, but what she learned from it. And so then she started just taking some notes during it and doing a little takeaway. So we've worked on that, and but since we've been back in January, we haven't really connected. She seems to be up to date on everything. I mean, when I've asked her, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine," and she talked about her family visit a little bit, but I haven't really pushed her on what does this mean to you as a leader. And so I think that's something that I can really push for, because she's young, and she's just been kind of focused on what this means to her. And so I will definitely take that track. I know that the audiologist here on campus contacted me because Katie had asked for an appointment and she lost her email. So I know that she at least reached out to get an audiology appointment. I don't know if she got it yet or not. And if she hasn't had it yet, I'll suggest she wait until after she has the module. Is that coming up?
It's going on right now, actually. They just had the first, last week's Zoom session was the first one, and then this coming Tuesday, a week from today, is the second audiology Zoom session. So
I won't worry about
end of February, they'll be done,
Yeah, okay, all right. But so she's been acting very self-sufficient, and I'm wondering if I need to kind of like push in a little bit more than just being there as she needs it. She was in my class last semester, and she's in my class now. So it's not that I don't have any contact with her, but it hasn't been for the MyLend since December, I think. So.
Great.
And I know she did an abstract for some presentation that she's doing for her final project.
Okay. Yep.
So I she convinced me she was on target for everything, but I'll check with her.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna put the whole agenda back up here. I think we talked about pretty much everything on here. Were there any questions, or did anybody have any other comments or thoughts to offer?
I'm just wondering, just a question out there, is there anything that you think we need to do at the next face-to-face session for our trainees or for mentors to come together? I mean, during the lunch hour, this particular face-to-face session, we're going to have 3 of the audiology trainees who won't be able to make it on April 20th. They're doing their live presentation, so there's not a lot of free time during lunch. But I just didn't know if there was any things that we wanted to take advantage of being face-to-face. I'm not sure what that might be. One thought I had is we're going to talk a little bit in the morning about some self-care. I sent a survey out to the trainees about what kind of activities or training they'd like around self-care, and it seems pretty applicable in light of the comments that were made during today's call about just our trainees are super busy people, and they're the type of people who take on a lot, and we're trying to groom them as leaders, and being a leader is stressful. So I don't know if we just have a little discussion around it, or I'm wondering if any discussion around prioritization is helpful. I'm just thinking aloud. I haven't planned the activities yet for the face-to-face session. It's only going to be about 30 minutes, but I'm hearing it as that I could see where it'd be pretty stressful for busy people who take on a lot. And how do you do it?
Any other comments or response on that?
Hi, this is Lisa from the Family Center, and I think that's a great, something great to bring up. I mean, it kind of all goes back to, that self-care while you're trying to do all these things, and remembering that you really need to come back to that self-care piece for yourself, not even discussing the family member part of it, but just for all the trainees who are doing so many different things at once. And also, many that are in practice and working with families on top of supporting families in the homes with the family visiting program. And they have a lot on their shoulders and a lot of stress. And it's really important to maybe do something to remind them about getting back to that self-care. And maybe, I'm not sure exactly where to go with that, but I think it would be a good piece to bring up.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. One of the comments in the survey, so far I've gotten 14 of 18 trainees completed it, but one of the comments was they'd love to hear how LEND faculty do it. And I was thinking they don't want to know how I do it or don't do it. I didn't know if there are ways as mentors, or I'm thinking aloud right now of what might be, I mean, maybe we could ask if anybody has anything to share of what they've done that's been helpful. You know, life is very stressful, and I'm opening it up for discussion.
I think it's a great idea, actually, Sharon. I fully support that topic, because I know that's something I've talked about with Emily, not only as her mentor, but now, you know, we work together here at DDI. So something we've discussed over the last year is, you know, really not only the prioritization, but to know when, basically to know when to say when. It's like, if you're overloaded, you know, you have to say something, you know, especially to your supervisor or your friend or your mentor. But also, I think that self-care piece is so important, and so many people do neglect it. But yeah, I think it would be interesting perhaps to have some of the, you know, non-trainees at the face-to-face offer up, hey, this is what I do when I'm feeling stressed, or, you know, it would open up the conversation to it.
Thanks. Jane, you're on mute. Still on mute. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that could be helpful, you know, just a few tips of things that we do. I mean, there are the things for self-care, you know, that one tries to do, the sleep and exercise and friends and all of that. And then there are the things just to organize and prioritize one's life. I invest a fair amount of time on looking at my schedule and prioritizing. Mm-hmm. I mean, it feels like a waste of time because I could be doing, but I need to do that. I'm constantly reprioritizing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm the same way. And I'm wondering with our trainees just learning if they need help. I mean, each one has a mentor, and that might be a helpful activity. Sometimes, you know, I encourage, you know, it's always helpful if you have a deliverable to somebody, or your boss or your supervisor, what are they expecting from you? And having, if you work for somebody or you're responsible to somebody, you may want to get feedback from them as well. But, yeah, I think it'll definitely be an interesting conversation, and, you know, I'll give this some thought. But I welcome if you have any neat ideas, I welcome them. Again, we're only going to have about a half an hour for that piece.
Any other comments or final thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, I had one question, just in terms of, and I forgot what we called it. We had a planning document at the beginning for each trainee that they complete. They're supposed to put their strengths in. I'm just curious if mentors are using that. Is that a helpful tool? No?
I haven't. I mean, I've forgotten about it. I've totally forgotten about it.
Yeah, I had too, until I started thinking about, like, yeah, so maybe, I don't know if we have to revisit those to see if people aren't using it, then it must not be that useful of a tool. Are there ways we can make it more useful?
I've used it. Yeah, I've used it because it's integrated into the tracking documents. So we always, when we meet, we open that up and look at, you know, where she's at, but then also I try to revisit that as, you know, often as we can. But yeah, from the strengths from the Strength Finder and that type of thing. Yeah, I think it's useful, but, you know, that's our approach because we're both very analytical people. So it's like, let's look at the data. That's what we love to do. So.
Yeah, and I wonder if there was a way that we could encourage them to set aside some time or something, so that way at the beginning of this, going through the cohort, that it's, you know, I mean, obviously they're going to be reviewing it, and it's a great tool to use from the mentor-mentee perspective. But I think at least for us, once Sandy actually got into doing all the other activities and readings and setting up, you know, the clinical experiences, that to go back and do it almost seems like an afterthought. It needs to be done in the beginning. And so I haven't really put pressure on her to do so, but I'm glad you brought that up, Sharon, because I was kind of wondering, like, you know, I want this to be useful and meaningful, not just trying to get something slapped together. So.
Yeah. Deborah, I'm curious, have you used it before? Have you been using it at all? Oh, you're on mute. Yeah.
Wrong corner, sir. I was in the wrong corner, sir. I haven't. You know, it's just like, because I haven't been able to come to the face-to-face trainings, I feel like I haven't been as tied into things as I think would have been helpful. So, but I mean, Katie gave me the book, and I'll certainly mention it to her and figure out if there's a way that she feels like we can make it work for her.
I think last year no one used it. And I think last cohort, I think this cohort there's some usage, so it's improving. Progress.
If there's no other comments, I think we could probably wrap up a little early unless anybody else has anything more to add. The only other thing is, so for our next mentor Zoom session, looking at the week of April 9th, and I'll send out a doodle poll as I did for this one. And then I'm wondering, and we can talk about it on the next one if we want to have kind of a final mentor Zoom session, maybe towards the end of May, June, into June, just to kind of debrief. I think I know that'd be helpful from a planning perspective, but also just if there's any loose ends for any of the trainees or the mentors that they'd like to address, I think that, I know it'd be helpful for me. So, but I would say mark the week of April 9th, and I'll try to get a doodle poll out probably after our face-to-face here next week, get it out a little earlier, so. All right, and this is recorded, so I'll get this edited and posted on the Blackboard site. If you need to revisit it, and for any of our other mentors that weren't able to join us to check it out as well. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Mike.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, bye.
Very much.
Next week.